Hello there, folks. Welcome to another episode on the Wide Boyz Show. This is an interesting episode, and it is how to be a pro climber. From traveling around the world, going to events, speaking to lots of different people, I always get a lot of questions, often by younger people actually, of how do you become a professional climber? What should I be doing? What should I look at? And it's a really interesting question of actually, what is a professional climber? What goes into it? What comes out the other side? What do you have to do? How do you go from day to day to make a living? This episode helps answer a lot of those questions. So if you are looking to take that journey or you've just been interested, then this is the episode for you. Like, what are professional climbers actually doing? On today's episode, we have Cameraman Pete. If anybody has watched our YouTube channel, you'll know who Cameraman Pete is. It's in the name. He's our cameraman, and he always knows the right questions to ask. He's been working with me and Tom for a really long time, so he's always willing to dig in and also provide some little gems, some gold, some little nuggets of information. So without waffling on any further, let's get into this chat and enjoy.
I've been waiting until I'm in the sandstone tower's better than getting out the shower. Then I'm gonna check the old grades because the old grades will fail. This is the way I'm climbing in the Czech Republic.
Righty, folks. Welcome to the Wide Boyz Show. You are back again, which means you must love it. You must love a bit of crack in your life, and you must love a bit of crack in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about being a professional climber and what that means. What does a professional climber mean? Who knows? I don't know. Does anybody know? Maybe I will know after today's chat. With me, I have guest. I have Cameraman Pete.
Finally.
Here you are.
The people have got what they've asked for so long.
Exactly. So anybody that doesn't know who Cameraman Pete is a cameraman called Pete.
Yes.
And for anybody, I reckon there's a lot of people listening to this who watch the YouTube channel, so they will know of Cameraman Pete. So they'll know your voice.
I think you're probably right. I think that the majority of people will have heard my voice and seen my work, but not necessarily have appreciated the man behind the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening, all I can say is that Pete comes out with absolute gold and absolute gems from, well, all the time basically. When he's filming with me and Tom, comes out with absolute gold. So here he is on the podcast, helping us to. I guess you're going to be asking me, and we're going to be helping answer the question of what is a professional climber? What's it involve? And
I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's genuinely something that's intrigued me for years. I mean, we've been working together for years, and I work with Tom and I work with other professional climbers. And I think this is something that's always fascinated me, this idea of what a professional climber is. And I think it's something that's changed a lot, especially over like the last 10 years as well. So I'd be really intrigued to know what your views are, and then maybe have a bit of a discussion about what makes a professional climber, whether or not it's even possible to aim to become a professional climber for the sort of those passionate climbers out there, and yeah, what it sort of takes to be one really.
Yeah.
But first of all, I think
we have to define what one is.
Yeah, I would be really intrigued because I've got my own definition of what I think a professional climber is. But I know that you've got a different one because we've had these conversations in the past.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember that actually.
So I think this was a few years ago. We had like a Q&A session, one of those long videos with you and Tom. And I think that you both had quite distinct definitions of what a professional climber was. And I remember what you said.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Because I have something in my mind now of what I believe it is.
Go on, what do you think it is?
No. I'm not saying mine first. You should say yours first, because I have it in my mind already. I know what I'm going to say.
I think that your definition really impacted the way that I thought about it, because I seem to remember you saying something along the lines of a professional climber is someone who should be able to financially support themselves through climbing. Not by having another job, not by necessarily being a YouTuber or an influencer, but by climbing, by actually doing the sport of climbing. So not being a content producer, which is essentially where my definition was going to come from. As in, like, I thought that you could be someone who produces content about climbing, and that would make you a professional climber. But actually, having thought about it, I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you have remembered what I obviously said, and we obviously did have this conversation because that's what I do believe a professional climber is. Because when you think about let's think about professionals in other sports, professional track runner, professional person in athletics, professional footballer, they are doing the sport of football, running, swimming, whatever it is, and they are paid to do that by somebody because of their performance.
Yeah.
Not because of their content creation. And the payment could come from, wow, there was some real sub there from somewhere else.
That was I think road noise, but it was something big went past.
That really
it
hit
was
me.
glorious.
I've lost my trail of thought. Where were we?
So it was about basically being paid for the act of doing that thing, as opposed to like sort of being paid to produce content around it. Because I guess that if you were thinking about a professional producing content, then there's going to be a real grey area between being a professional athlete and being a journalist or a commentator or something like that. And it's not the same. I don't think.
No. And I think where the money comes from, it could be from a sporting body, like a governing sporting body, that you get grants or funds to do your professionalism. I mean, if we think about real mainstream things like football, then it's coming through the club for you to play for that club for football. Through climbing, a lot of the time, it's coming through sponsorships from brands, and they're paying climbers for. There's a slight difference here in that they are paying climbers for performance, but in recent times, sometimes there's been a blurred line between paying for pure, not poor performance, but pure performance and content creation around that performance. And I think that's where the line has blurred. But for me, I still feel like your performance is the top thing, and to be a professional in it, then you are a high level of climbing, and you should be able to financially support yourself with that income. And the income, you're not doing some route setting on the side.
Yeah.
You're not doing a job on a Friday or something. Your income comes from. Oh, hello. Sorry, we're just recording something.
Sorry.
No,
That's
don't.
fine.
No, it's absolutely fine. You keep going with what you're doing. We were just sat down talking.
You were in. Yeah.
That's because we were being so quiet and subtle. Yeah. Don't worry at all. What were we saying, sorry? Oh yeah, about the financial support should be coming from.
Yeah, so financially, you should be able to pay your rent, pay your mortgage, pay your bills, pay your living through the money that you get for your climbing performance.
I think this is where the grey area and that blurred line has come over the last, say, 10 years, is because actually with YouTube, with Instagram, with this sort of like the explosion of influencer culture, there are people who can essentially go out and make themselves very good livings by doing these sports, but they aren't necessarily getting paid for their performance. They're getting paid for the media that they themselves are producing. Like it's them that's doing it. It's not like, say, a magazine or a film company wants you to go and perform and for them to film it and produce that content. It's actually for you to go out and make your own interesting or engaging content. And this is the thing that I think that people who are listening to this are probably going to be tearing their hair out and saying, like, but if they're making their money, then that's meeting your definition. But I don't think it quite is.
Well, they're making.
If say, for example, someone is making money from a YouTube channel because climbing is their hobby and actually they're very good at making entertaining content, I think you and I would say, well, they're not necessarily a professional climber or a professional in that thing. What they are is a professional content
YouTuber.
maker, a YouTuber, yeah. And there's absolutely no shade on those people who are doing that. It's fantastic. And actually those people who are making a really good living out of it, they're doing amazingly. But it's not necessarily what you and I would class as being a professional sports person, because that money is coming from a slightly different place, isn't it?
It is.
So I'd be really interested, because you became, as far as I'm aware, you became a professional climber sort of before this idea of being an influencer was an option.
Although it's interesting because I would have called myself a semi-professional climber beforehand.
Interesting.
Because I wasn't I was still doing bits of other work on the side. So say in my 20s, for example,
Yeah.
I did have some sponsorship deals and they were good, but it wasn't good enough to fully make a living off sponsorship deals. You know, I had to do some other stuff on the side. And then gradually over time, I guess my climbing performance has increased, my profile has increased, I've got better, I've done bigger projects, brands are more willing to take me on or offer better sponsorship deals or better contracts. And then that has progressed into contracts which enable me to call myself a professional climber.
Yeah.
But then still on the side of that, I'm still doing other stuff which would be classed as the work of a content creator as well. So I feel like I'm really I'm like in both worlds.
Yeah, I feel like there's not that many people who could sort of hand on heart say that they are true professional climbers who don't dip toes into content creation.
I think some of the comp climbers, maybe.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, even a lot of them have started the content creation as well, side of things recently.
Well, in fairness, it's so lucrative and can be done in parallel with being a professional athlete, that there's an element of sort of thinking, well, why wouldn't you? You know, if that does open up, you know, a broader range of financial options, things that are maybe going to extend your career beyond maybe your mid-30s when you're actually being a competitive athlete or you're at the top of your game, then it makes total sense as to why they're doing it.
Longevity.
I mean, is that something that you've found since doing, say, the YouTube, since doing the Wide Boyz YouTube channel? Do you feel like there's maybe less pressure financially to make the right decisions when it comes to sponsorship renewals or to actually finding your own kind of projects and things? Do you feel like you've got more freedom now?
Do I have more freedom? I mean, I never feel like I didn't have freedom for it. I think with the content creation and stuff that we have done with Wide Boyz, it makes it easier to negotiate contracts and things like that with brands, because I have the achievement climbing side of things in terms of climbing to a certain standard, and then there's the media side of things behind it, and I think that's very, what's the word, appealable to brands and stuff like that.
It's super attractive, isn't it? I guess also having a track record of having done sort of achieved goals in climbing that have put you into the climbing media anyway, even without you making your own videos about it, without you taking photos and things. Say, for example, new routes, first descents. That's the sort of thing that gets you recognised, and that's the sort of thing that brands want to be associated with. Similarly, I guess competition climbers, if you're getting wins or you're getting really good results, brands are going to want to be associated with you. I guess it's going to be much more difficult to get them to invest in you if you're not getting those results.
Yeah, I wonder whether competition climbers are the true professional climbers in a way, because they're. I mean, some of them definitely are focused on producing media as well, but some of them definitely aren't, and I presume that a bunch of them have very good contracts with sponsorships and stuff like that, and they're purely focused, going to the gym, going climbing. They're not focused on really their social media, as I believe, and they're focused on their competitions and results, and maybe they're the true professional climbers and they're getting paid for it to do that. You know, they're going to the gym, they're getting paid for the training. And
I mean, it is interesting. You know, there are levels to this, aren't there? Like if you take Yanya, then having a management team who essentially do all of the additional content creation side of her kind of her brand. She does get a massive opportunity to concentrate on training and performing at her best. And so she is able to not only do the comp achievements, but also go out and achieve when she's in the off season, going and doing these mad sport routes and stuff. So yeah, I totally think that you could count those comp climbers as true professional athletes.
True professionals. They're the true professionals.
Yeah.
So maybe there's 3 levels to this. Maybe there's the true professionals. That's the comp climbers.
Who essentially, it's 100%, they are focused on their performance and their climbing goals. And then you've got the people who, by some way or margin, have some of their time taken up by this kind of like self-promotion.
Maybe I'm in. Yeah, and then at the other end of the scale, there is the content creators who are climbers who create content, who make a living from climbing, but you wouldn't call them a professional sports person or professional athlete. And then you have this hybrid in the middle, which I think is where a lot of people potentially sit, which is probably where I sit.
Yeah.
Which is this hybrid of you're getting some sponsorship from brands and that supports you, and then you also have this content creation which helps you gain your sponsorships with the brands as well as your climbing achievements. Kind of like this scale, isn't it?
Right, folks, just chiming in here to let you know that our Master Jam crack gloves are out, available for you guys to grab a pair. Me and Tom are really excited about the Master Jam gloves. We feel like they're a step up in crack glove performance. They've certainly helped us on some recent projects. So if you are keen to get your hands inside a pair, I will leave all the details in the show notes, and we're really looking forward to seeing the Master Jams on your hands and on your projects. Also, for those people in the States, we have just partnered with Bold Climbing, who are now distributing our products in the United States, and we also have product on the online retailer, backcountry.com. So if you do want a pair of Master Jams and you live in the States, backcountry.com is the place to go. They're also starting to be distributed out to a load of different retailers across the States. So keep your eyes peeled and get ready for some more Master Jams in the United States. For those people in the EU, we do now have stock of product in the Netherlands. So if you are an EU customer, you can simply go to our website. Our website will recognize your IP address. Then when you put your delivery address into our website, it will generate EU shipping rates, and then you can check out normally with the EU shipping rates, and you don't have to cover any customs or duties of getting that product imported into your country as it's coming from Netherlands. Okie dokie, that's enough of that. Back to the episode.
As well as your climbing achievements. Kind of like this scale, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it is a scale. And I think at both ends, you've probably got a very small minority of people. Those people who are essentially 100% concentrating on their performance or 100% concentrating on their content creation. Yeah. But I think it is all part of that spectrum of having some sort of financial skin in the game of climbing, I suppose. It's an interesting one. I do wonder, because it's so broad, this kind of idea of making money from climbing, I wonder whether or not when you speak to young people at, like, say, competitions or at the climbing events and stuff, and they say, oh, you know, what do I have to do to make this into my profession, or what do I have to do to make a living out of climbing? There's not one answer.
Yeah, there's not one pathway.
No.
Really.
And I think it'd be wrong to almost suggest that there was, because I don't think that the number of people who are doing just one thing is so small.
Yeah, you have to broaden your skills.
Even Andra.
Even Andra has like massive media and stuff, like self-media, around what he does.
It would be really interesting, wouldn't it, to be able to talk to those guys who are really, really high up, like Andra, who are much more towards that point of doing 100% concentrating on performance, and ask them if finances weren't part of their decision making, what their sort of perfect climbing careers would look like in terms of that spread of stuff. Whether or not they would just go out and climb and set these big projects.
Yeah, whether they would just go and climb, and I think they would just go and climb.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, like, maybe no turning up to events, no kind of working with brands to produce new products or doing their own media stuff. Is that what if you were in a perfect world, what would you do?
No, I enjoy a real mixture.
Do you?
Yeah, I enjoy a real mixture, and I've always said that if I was to just go climbing 100% of the time. And that's what I did. It's either like I trained, or I went and did projects, or I was on the road and climbing, and I did no work with brands. Yeah, like you say, no sort of like product development, no any of this stuff that you do when you work with brands. I would find it boring. It sounds amazing, but anything that you do 100%, I think it becomes tiring. It becomes boring. It's like when you're on the road for a long time and you're on a long climbing trip, you end up getting slightly lazy. You're like, oh, conditions aren't quite good enough today. I'll just come tomorrow because I know I'll have tomorrow. Whereas when you're actually on a shorter climbing trip and you just have a week or 2 weeks to do something, you really make the most of every bit. And often I've found on the shorter trips, I've done better things and come away with more satisfying sort of climbing achievements or climbing memories compared to when you're necessarily on the long trips.
It's so interesting you say that, because actually, of those people who have this sort of slightly different splits between throwing themselves 100% into just performance and goals, and then those people who obviously have the commitments to, say, their social media, to their brand partners, etc., you don't tend to see a massive difference in results. It's not like Ondra started doing really badly when he started his YouTube channel.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you don't.
You don't
You
see
don't
this.
see it, no.
And I think it kind of goes to what you were saying about
It's a really good point, actually.
about maybe having these kind of slight limitations on your time being a bit motivating to try harder or to get out when the conditions aren't right and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's just something else for your mind. You're not just fully focused on like moves or climbing all the time, or you have a little bit of a break from that, which is good. It's like when you're training and stuff. If you have a little bit of break from training, then your body refuels and remembers, and then you go back to the training exercise and you get better.
Yeah,
and it's the same sort of thing. Like you're just climbing all the time, then I think the motivation dips. So having these different things and working with brands. So for me, definitely, I would say I wouldn't, as a perfect professional climber life, it wouldn't just be climbing.
That's really
There has
interesting.
to be something else in it.
You said something earlier which I was really interested in, and I think me not being a very good climber, I've always had
No,
this.
come on, Pete.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyone who knows exactly how good I am at climbing. But one thing I've heard asked before, in fairness, not for a few years, and not necessarily in these exact words, but essentially, what grade should I be if I wanted to be a pro climber? And you mentioned before about like getting to a certain level and stuff, and I think maybe grade is a bit of a it's a bit of an odd one, but like the level that you could expect from a pro climber. I think that people, when they ask about it, almost want to put a number on it.
Yeah.
But are brands, the people who actually pay for the sort of the lifestyle of a pro climber, is that something they ask for? Is that something they're interested in?
I've never had a brand like ask for a number or be bothered about a number you put on a first ascent. However, I do think brands recognise people who are climbing hard and achieving things within the climbing space. Like brands do recognise that they're not going to sponsor somebody who isn't at a level. You have to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
And I don't think that level has a specific grade. But actually, who was this? It could have been Dave McLeod who said this. Could be wrong. I'm not sure. But it was somebody who said, and I agreed with this comment, that to become a professional climber, be at the top, you have to find your niche and excel and be the best in that niche.
Yeah.
That niche could be really small, but it's not necessarily saying like, oh, you have to climb 9B or you have to climb 5 9Bs and you suddenly become a professional climber.
Yeah, okay.
It's finding because climbing is so broad.
Yeah.
So it's finding your thing and then being the best in that thing.
Yeah.
And that thing could be really like narrow profiled. Like me and Tom went after off-width, which for a few years, which isn't even the spectrum of crack climbing. Literally like a narrower form of crack climbing. It was off-widthing. And it wasn't even just kind of normal off-widthing. It was like big roof off-widthing, And then you're able to like branch out a little bit more. And then we branched out into crack climbing. And it's the same if you think about anybody who is the top of the sport. Like you think, I mean, Yanya's the obvious one.
Yeah.
And she is fully focused all of her attention on, until very recently, on competitions. And it's been be the best in the competitions. And then you take like Alex Honnold, found this niche, free soloing. I always think if you think a professional climber, you should be able to link a short sentence or a couple of words to them. So Alex Honnold, free solo.
Cameraman Pete zooming in.
Cameraman Pete, quick zoom.
Quick zoom in and
Yeah.
out. Make people feel ill.
Dave McLeod, all rounder. You can kind of pin something to that person.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you think of any of these top climbers, like Daniel Woods, world's best boulderer,
was definitely he was
Like-
in the mix. Like you couldn't have had a conversation about the world's best boulderers. You know what? You're absolutely right, because I remember seeing. I can't remember what the film was, but I saw a film of Daniel Woods, and he was it's like climbing at like a 9A or 9A plus sport route, and it was part of a bouldering film, and it was just, I don't know, it was almost because he's a boulderer and because he was pushing the top end of bouldering grades, this sort of 9A was pretty, like, I don't know, the route almost seemed sort of slightly underwhelming as part of that film because he almost was out of that niche. And it was a really strange sort of situation, because I remember thinking, well, this grade's unbelievably impressive, but that's not the top of sport grades, whereas I know for bouldering, he's pushing the top of bouldering grades. And
it could be for anybody who is like looking to be a professional climber. Then I mean, it's very difficult to suddenly go like, oh, well, I'm like the name of Adam Ondra, world's best climber. That's what you're saying. But you really have to, if you're not at that level, then you really have to like narrowly niche down. And it could be you become the best at a very specific style of crimpy boulders or slab climbing, and you just go after that, you know?
I feel like climbing is one of those slightly strange sports in that like there's a genuine reward for giving back to the climbing community, whether that's putting up new routes, whether that's going on these sort of big expeditions and you know, bringing more things to the public, or whether that's pushing grades up. If you're sort of adding to the community, I think that you as an athlete have a lot more value. I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but if you're not adding to the community, then probably you're not going to be as seen as quite a valuable.
No, I
part
can
of
really
that
agree with that. Yeah. Just in terms of coaching and knowledge, new routes. I mean, think of the things like in Spain that Chris Sharma and Danny Andrade. I mean, Danny Andrade is slightly less known than Chris Sharma, obviously, but he's just done hundreds of new routes in Spain, just like giving climbing to the community, you know?
Absolutely.
I think as a professional climber, it's really good to do that. And I also think brands value it. Doesn't have to be new route. New routes is a great way of giving back to the community. But it could be coaching. I mean, me and Tom have done loads of like crack school things, coaching. I mean, I give away knowledge every week in either videos or writing or newsletters.
I feel like that's one of the things that Dave McLeod does.
Dave is really good at it.
Yeah, he's got so good at giving back to the community. But like he has sort of gone to this really amazing point of just giving so much to the climbing community.
Yeah, loads.
And I think that probably if you spoke about any top end professional climber, probably the higher up that sort of ladder towards, you know, the very best, probably the more things you could say are really obvious that they're giving back to the community, which I think would be really interesting. It would be so interesting to know what some of the other sort of professional climbers' views on what a professional climber is. I think they'd be really varied. I think it'd be really varied, and I think that there would be some people who have views where you'd be like, no, absolutely not. There's no chance that's what a professional climber is. And there'd be some who are just like even more militant and sort of saying like, I don't know, well, unless you're earning this much from you not picking up a camera or a phone or any way of you sharing stuff, should be like, you know, what are your rumours of your ascents worth or whatever. Yeah. Which I think would be really interesting. So, I mean, so I did actually write down a couple of questions. One of the things I was trying to sort of, I don't know, segue in before is, there is this idea that, you know, when you go to competitions, there are people trying to go from being, you know, a good amateur to a professional climber. Do you think it's something that is, you know, is it something that people can and should be aiming for? Or is it just sort of something that happens if you love climbing and you're really pushing your limits?
For competition climbers or just for climbers
just broadly in general? I mean, you come across this question more at competitions and events than just talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not massively experienced in the competitions. I stopped doing competitions when I was 15, so it's difficult for me to kind of comment on that, really.
Like, is it reasonable to to have becoming a professional as your climbing goal? Or should climbing goals be more like climbing this place, do this grade, do this
I think
route?
if you ask professional climbers, and when this question has come up before, I bet you most of them will say that I didn't aim to become a professional climber; it just happened.
That was my inkling was
And
along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's what happens with a lot of people. That's certainly what happened with me. It's not like at age 20 I was thinking, yeah, I want to be a professional climber. It was more, there's this opportunity here. You take it, and then it leads to this opportunity, and then you take that, and then things start snowballing, and then suddenly you're on the road to being a semi-professional climber and then a professional climber. So I don't think it's particularly. I don't know whether it's good mentality to think I want to become a professional climber. Maybe that starts to kill the love of going climbing.
Yeah, does it turn it into a job, and before you're getting paid, are you essentially turning your hobby, your passion into a job that you're not getting paid for?
It's a difficult one because it certainly wasn't like that for me. Like I say, it just happened very gradually over the course of 10 years. So, and I think it was the same for Tom, and it's definitely been the same to other people that I've spoken to who do similar sorts of climbing to me. In the competition scene, I don't know. I mean, I feel like people who enter the competitions, they just want to win. Like, if you ask any competition climber, like, why they're there, it's like, I want to win.
It's interesting, isn't it? Those opportunities do come. I think this is maybe coming back to what we were talking about at the start. There's maybe a difference here between those, like what you would consider definitely to be professional climbers, and maybe the people further along towards the influencer side of the spectrum, where maybe those opportunities are more specific to climbing, and you get the support from climbing brands because you are a climber, as opposed to getting sort of opportunities to do non-climbing related adverts or sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually they're not opening up doors for you to go to cool climbing events or climbing destinations or meet up with other climbers. They're more sort of specifically just financial. Like, it's an interesting thing to me where sometimes the very high end people, I'm going to use Andra again, the majority of his sponsors appear to be climbing related. And then when you maybe speak to someone who is a full-time YouTuber, their sponsors tend to be
maybe not even climbing brands.
Yeah, it's NordVPN and people like that. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I do think that climbing brands, they like to be associated with people, again, giving back to the climbing community. They don't necessarily want to be associated with people who aren't adding value. In terms of your professional climbing life, what does it actually look like? Like, let's say a month of you being a professional climber, how much time are you allocating to training? How much time are you allocating to, say, travel? How much admin is there to do with being a professional climber? What does it actually look like? Because I'm assuming you do actually have to do something. It's not just a case of, you know what I mean?
Sitting back.
Yeah. Do you have to go and make appearances or like?
It's an interesting question, this, because I have actually been working on a bit of a project, which is a book. And I documented my whole of 2025 every single day.
Did you really?
Of what I've been doing to answer the question of what does a professional climber do.
That's amazing.
And so it's obviously not, still working on it. Like I was saying, how I'm in this middle zone of professional, semi-professional kind of climbing. So I would say these days, 50% of my time is what we would class as professional climber. So that could be training, being away on climbing trips, doing projects, expeditions, whatever it might be. And then 50% of my time is actually these days working on the Wide Boyz business. So that's actually how my time is split. But what I can say is I know the exact number of days that I climbed each week in 2025, and it was 4.8 per week.
That's a lot of climbing, actually. That's really interesting because, as you said, you're splitting it sort of 50-50 between essentially Wide Boyz as a business and being a professional climber, and it's still 4 point. It's almost a full working week
Yeah, so I do.
of
But
climbing.
that was. I mean, that's not every day. You're not at the gym 9 to 5 because
No.
you would completely disintegrate.
Yeah.
But I was either out climbing, or I was at the gym, did some training, or I did some climbing related training thing, or I was away on an expedition or climbing trip, and the average was 4.8 days per week. And that doesn't
so
include
interesting.
travel. Travel was separate. When I looked at it, I thought it was going to be less than that.
I would have assumed less as
Yeah.
well.
I was thinking like 4.8 days. I mean, like 5 days.
Because you would have thought in a normal sort of training split that you would have had a good amount of rest in there as well.
But there were times where maybe I was like 11 days on, and then there were times where I was maybe like 5 days off. But yeah, it averaged out at 4.8, and then I was like, oh yeah, I climb a lot.
It's really interesting because actually we've been and people have asked me about what you're like as a climber when I sort of go home after a shoot and I say, oh, I've been filming with Pete in the Peak District or whatever. And it's been interesting because a couple of times we've finished doing like a film or something that's not been particularly physical or like full on in terms of climbing. And I'll say, oh, what are you going to do after this? And you'll say, oh, I'll probably go and do some training or like maybe go and do some fingerboarding or something like that. And it's always been really amazing to me as a sort of like I guess realising how much work goes into just maintaining that level.
Yeah, it's all about maintaining, I think.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, we did some filming earlier, and cameraman Pete was asking at the end of the video, like to the viewers, what would be the best thing that you could give advice for, climbing harder. And my answer is consistency over a long period of time. Yeah, it's not about just doing it for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 year. It's about doing it for a long time.
It's interesting because I think that sort of thing gets, just going back to the professional climber element of stuff. If you took a like a footballer and they had an amazing match, like they scored a few goals or something, they're not necessarily going to be offered a professional contract if they're not consistent and for the rest of the time they're absolute crap.
Consistency. That's the word.
Yeah, and it is one of those where you do have to sort of show yourself to be consistently good and consistently delivering and stuff in order to, I guess, be a proper professional. Professionals, anything are consistent. I mean, if you're not consistent as a professional heart surgeon, then you're probably going to be awful, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not going to be good. Just like, oh, I did one good heart surgery once.
Yeah, once I did an amazing heart surgery that one time. I managed to, break my way into surgery. Did this surgery, absolutely fantastic. They survived. Got given a contract. Really lucky. Got given a 12-month contract in this one hospital, and then it fell apart after that. They were awful.
Hello folks, just a quick one. If you are enjoying the chat, then don't forget we have our inner crack climbing community, and this is where we have unreleased podcast episodes. We have listeners' questions podcast episodes, so you can send your questions to myself and Tom and it will get answered on the podcast. And we also have extra content inside there if you just want a little bit more crack in your life. So if you want to join us inside the inner crack community, I'll leave the link in the show notes. You can come in on a 7-day trial, you can listen to everything, you can watch everything, you can absorb all the content, and then you can leave again if you want. Or you can join us, you can stay, you can ask some questions, and you can get more crack content every month. We hope to see you inside. Right, back to the episode.
So how much training that goes into being a professional? I think that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. The other thing I think that's quite interesting is like work-life balance. As in, if you think of work being climbing, what is your work-life balance like as a climber? We always talk about climbing. Like even when we're sort of finished filming, we go out for dinner or something like that. Like we're still talking about climbing, or maybe about like the Wide Boyz business. Like, do you find that's difficult to maintain, or is it that climbing's such like a part of your life anyway that it's sort of fine? You don't need any more time for anything that non-climbing?
Yeah, I mean, climbing's a massive part of my life. I don't think I'll ever not climb, even when I'm not a professional climber. But maybe over the last year or so, then, or actually previously as well, I kind of dipped in and out of other sports or interests, and they've kind of come and gone. It's kind of nice to have something a little bit different on the side. I wouldn't say that I have anything massive. In the past, it's been like playing table tennis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then these days it's music production. Yeah, it's good to have something else. Yeah, it's nice to have something else so you can take your mind off it and you're not constantly always thinking about climbing.
Do you think that that makes you a more? I guess it's one of those where we just spoke to Hannah, who obviously had that massive accident with her leg.
This is Hannah Morris.
This is Hannah Morris, yeah.
YouTuber who
Yeah.
creates content on YouTube. Good
Yeah.
channel.
Good
Check it out.
channel, very successful at what she does. Definitely more towards the sort of influencer side of stuff in terms of being professional. But she had this really nasty accident relatively recently. I know that touch wood, you've not had any big accidents.
That's cardboard, Pete.
Oh, that's cardboard. Well, I did it in spirit. If you were to have, like, say, a minor injury, for example, I might have, and it puts me off training for like 6 weeks, 2 months or something. If you have these extra things that you also enjoy doing, do you think that you're probably less likely to lose motivation with your training?
Yeah, I think it's good to have these extra things that you have going on, because I feel like if it's only climbing, that's the be all and end all of your life. If something happens, I feel like I've seen people get really down about it, and it is a downer when you get injured, and every athlete and every professional will have injuries. I've had injuries. You get injuries. It's how it works. Anybody that does sport will get injuries, but it's just how you deal with them, I think. And having something else helps you deal with them a little bit better, I think, sometimes as well. Can take your mind off things. And
Do you ever feel, when you do get injured, is there ever any pressure, not necessarily pressure from brands, but do you ever feel like a sort of, if I don't get back up to sort of fighting fit, that's my job? Like, do you find that sort of worrying at all when you do get these twinges or niggles?
I think maybe if you had a serious injury, then it would start to cross my mind, I think. Yeah, if there was a serious injury. But I mean, touch wood, I'm going to touch that bit of wood again. I've never had a serious... There you go, there you go. Touch that wasn't cardboard then.
Yeah.
Some wood. I've never had serious injury. The worst thing I did was when I ruptured the, whatever it is, ACL down the side of my knee. And it probably took a year to get back to full strength of doing the same move as when I ruptured it. But it's not like... I always think with injuries, Tom's the master of this, because Tom's definitely been injured more than I've been injured, and he's a real master at working around the injuries. Like, I feel like Tom always has some kind of injury, but he's just doing something else in climbing to work around it. And that's actually one of the reasons why he started crack climbing, because his fingers were injured.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
Yeah, he's just really good at doing something else or whatever it is and working around it and still achieving a level around those injuries. Yeah, it's good.
Tom's one of those people who, when you were talking about maybe having a bit less time available, getting more stuff achieved, Tom's like the person who I would think about that. Like the person with the least amount of time who can just, the most done. He's just ludicrous.
Yeah, the least amount of time with the most stuff done.
It'd be so interesting, wouldn't it? Like to have his diary from 2025 and be like, well, how many days did you climb, Tom?
Yeah. I wonder how many it was.
I'd be so interested. It would be wild to know, because I bet it would be quite significantly different.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure.
Maybe we'll have to ask him how many days did you climb. It might be one of those things that he's probably got some strange lattice diary or something that he's got everything.
He's probably got some strange way he's training when he's sleeping.
Yeah, probably, almost definitely.
He just hasn't released to the world.
He'll have his like lattice goblins making this kind of like this weird training aid that sends electric shocks down your fingers to get them clenching in a perfect half crimp.
He's still working on it at the moment, and it's going to be released in 2027.
And it'll be subscription based. Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. I think I'd be really intrigued now that we've had this conversation to speak to other professional climbers and see like what their lives actually look like. Now, having lived as a professional climber, is there anything that if you were to sort of go back and speak to your 15-year-old self, be like, oh, Pete, just be aware this is a bit weird about being a professional climber?
Ooh, I don't think there really is.
Is there any element of like the stuff maybe you get asked by brands to do that is just something you hadn't considered to be like a possibility?
It's not really, because I feel like it all came very gradually. You know, after me and Tom did the Century Crack trip. I mean, I was still reasonably young then. I was like 20 or something when we came back from that trip. Yeah, I hadn't done any sort of like public speaking. I hadn't really done any coaching with people. But then Wild Country, one of the brands I was working with, sort of asked me to do these crack school things, and then I just had to learn how to coach people and do that. You kind of learn these things as you go along, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was all thrown at me to start with. And then even with like public speaking stuff, I started out doing it with Tom and we did it as a duo. And then in time, I've gone on to do it by myself. And at first, it would just be small presentations to climbing clubs. And then, you know, now I've done presentations to big festivals with 1,000 people or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's all just building up to it. Whereas I think if you'd thrown me into speaking at a big festival with 1,000 people as a 20-year-old having never done it before, I mean, you'd muscle your way through it, but I think it would be pretty tough.
Yeah, it would definitely.
So,
oh God, I can't imagine anything worse. It'd be awful. Did you sort of like, you know, when you were first, I don't know, gaining sponsorship or support from brands and stuff, did you sort of go up that classic, I'm going to say the sponsorship ladder of being like, oh, first of all, you get,
it was definitely a sponsorship ladder.
Yeah, like pair of shoes from a
it was
distributor.
A full sponsorship ladder.
Yeah. So what does that actually look like? Because I've seen the shoe part of it.
Okay.
I've seen it where you're like, oh yeah, here you go, here's a pair of shoes, and there's essentially there's no requirement on your time. There's no like contract. There's no asking for them to do anything. It's essentially like, we'd like you to just use this. There might not be any more, but you know, here's some shoes.
And I think the brands do that as sort of, well, they obviously want their product on, they see a sort of talent, and they want their product on that talent's feet, and you have to give out, I guess with brands, you have to give out a lot of these, and if you get in early on a lot of people, then say if you give it out to 100 people, then you'll get 5 of those who will then carry on up that ladder, but 95 of them will just be filtered out, they'll give up climbing, or they don't get to a certain level in climbing where they want to, you know, progress up the sponsorship stuff.
So what came after shoes?
After shoes.
After shoes. Yeah.
Chalk.
Yeah. Interesting, because I would have thought chalk would be like.
Before.
I guess chalk's one of those weird ones where once it's in.
No, I was only joking. I was only joking with that. I mean, the first thing is always like product. I guess you could put it in that category. So yeah, whether it's shoes or apparel or some climbing equipment, harnesses or hardware or whatever. And then I feel like after that, it might be a small amount of money for a specific trip or project. That's how it was for me. And I think that's how it was for Tom as well. We had some money from Wild Country for our Century Crack trip. So it certainly wasn't fully paid for, but the money that they gave us, I think we got like 500 quid and it covered the flights to America.
Did they also pay for the film to be made? Or was that from someone else?
So that was independent and that was done through Hot Takes.
Oh, right. So they knew about it. And I'm assuming that there was...
That was actually me and Tom, because I'd already done some stuff with Hot Takes before. And me and Tom, so I knew the producer, filmmaker, Paul Diffley, and me and Tom got in touch with Paul saying, this could be an interesting project for you. We're going and doing this, this and this. Do you want to document it? And that was us that got in contact with Paul. So that was nothing to do with the sponsorships. Then there was the whole Century Crack thing. That came off, you know, it kind of blew up in the news around that time. People obviously wanted to see footage, you wanted to see a film. And then Wild Country obviously came in and sponsored the film Hot Takes then made. So they came in, Wild Country came in afterwards. But Wild Country helped with me and Tom just getting out to America because we proposed the trip to them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So presumably they could have, I don't know, written about it in a climbing magazine or something,
exactly,
no matter what.
Yeah.
They could have
exactly.
sort of said, we've got these athletes doing this. And they could have been associated with that achievement, whatever it was. It's interesting. So it sounds very much like you did have to sort of make your own opportunities in terms of that film.
It's all about making your own opportunities. You have to start by making your own opportunities, and then the opportunities will start coming to you. Yeah, if you don't start by making your own opportunities and reaching out, then it's, I mean, on the odd occasion you are going to, you know, you do something, you're going to get brands reaching out. But for most people out there who want to, I don't know, go on a professional climber journey, you have to start making your own opportunities from the beginning.
I mean, it's one of those, isn't it, where it sounds incredibly simple, doesn't it? It's interesting. It's similar with filming. where people have spoken to me at Crackfest and said, how did you get into filming for Tom and Pete and things? I want to do it, how much should I charge, or something like that. And there's almost this, they're jumping a step. They're sort of going to professional without having done the free shoes.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
there's a part where you sort of need to be like, well, you need to make your own opportunities, go out and do something that makes someone want to work with you. And
That's what you did with us.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I work with like Ollie from Lattice.
Yeah, you were doing
then-
stuff with the Lattice guys before Wide Boyz anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that was way before Lattice. It was sort of essentially, I liked climbing and I liked making films. And so I got to know Ollie, and then we made some films. And then I knew Tom. He managed to get some money from Rab to, he was making a video and doing some new like climbing apparel or something like that. And I think he was like, I need to find someone really like dirt cheap. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll work with Tom Randall. That's ace. Yeah, that'll be really cool. Oh, what? I'm being paid £100. And then we started doing the Lattice videos, and then we started doing the Wide Boyz stuff after that. And there's so much about just making your own opportunities.
Sort of getting stuck in, isn't it?
I think so. I think it's mega. Is there anything else about being a professional that you want to share?
Anything else about being a professional I want to share? Just enjoy it. Just enjoy climbing and the rest will come.
Has this conversation changed your view about what a professional climber is at all?
No. No, I still have my thing of what I think it is, which is what we discussed at the beginning.
It's interesting though, the first time we spoke about this, I was like, no, Pete, that's stupid.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, oh no, being a YouTuber is a professional climber, because you're climbing and you're doing. But I think that this whole thing comes from like as silly as it sounds, where the money comes from. If you're making your own sort of content, and the reason why people are watching it is not because you're a brilliant climber, it's because you're really funny or you're just really good at storytelling or something, then I would say you're a professional content creator, you're a professional storyteller or a comedian or whatever who does that sport, as opposed to this idea of like, no, you're being essentially financially rewarded for your contribution to climbing and your performance. Yeah, I think performance is key.
Right, folks. We might end it there. I don't know. Thanks, Pete, for joining. We do have a little private community going on, so if you want to get involved in that, I'll leave the link in the show notes of this show.
What's in the private community, Pete?
Private community, loads of little good juicy little bits.
It is significantly more juicy. If you knew what Tom Randall saves for the private community, oh my God, there are so many things that just have. I was saying this to Pete before. There's so many things that we film where we're like falling about laughing because Tom has said something.
Sometimes I have to cut that out the private community.
Oh my God, it's so often where you're like, that is absolute gold, but there's no chance anyone can ever hear about it. Anyway, you're significantly more likely to hear that in a non-public forum, like something that do you have to sign a waiver for it?
You have to say,
I feel like that would be useful.
Yeah, and an NDA. So yeah, we have that. There's some other podcasts in there. There's also listeners' questions. So you can send us your questions and me and Tom will answer them. So send them in. We'll answer them on the private podcast. And
Be interesting to know if anyone sends in a different definition of a professional climber. I think that's exactly the sort of person who will argue the point.
potentially. Right, folks, we're going to leave it there. Happy jamming, and we will speak to you soon. Okie dokie. Bye-bye.
Bye, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Very good.
Stone towers with and getting at the shower. And then I'm gonna check the old grades, because the old grades will fade. This is the way I'm climbing in the Czech Republic.